What's up, guys? Max here, and I hope you're digging the new shirts. If you are and you want one, hit me up, and I will figure out a way to get you a shirt for full price. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I'm going to be trying something a little bit different. This is U.S. Navy veteran reacts to Representative Dan Crenshaw versus Bill Maher. So, full disclosure, I did work for Dan while I was in the Navy. He was the OIC of a deployment that I was on. We didn't work that closely together, but I knew him. I did work for him. But this is going to be an unbiased opinion. I do love what I'm seeing out of him in Congress. It's amazing. I'm proud to know him. And I've heard about this interview, so I'm going to put these headphones down, switch over to my computer here, and I'm going to listen and react to this interview. So I hope you enjoy it.
My next guest is a Republican
Okay, here we go.
Congressman from
So,
Texas and author of the new book
I am
Fortitude.
a little
American
familiar with
Resilience in the
Bill
Era
Maher.
of Outrage. Please
I
welcome
have-
Dan Crenshaw.
I'm going to get this book and give it a
Thank you
read.
for doing this. I must tell you, I first
Fortitude by
became
Dan
aware
Crenshaw.
of you as I think
Now, you
many
guys might know
Americans
Dan
did
Crenshaw.
when
You might have
Pete
seen him in the
Davidson
news.
of
He
Saturday Night Live
famously,
made
we're
that
talking about it
joke
right now,
about you.
famously was on
And
Saturday Night
I have
Live,
to tell you, I am such a fan
where they
of
made a
what you
joke about
said,
him, and then
because
he
you
went
never
on to
hear
Saturday
that
Night Live, and he responded to that joke in a very adult way, talked it out. No big outcry or anything like that. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, that's where Bill Maher is starting off here, saying that that's how he knows Dan, and I'm sure that's how a lot of people, probably you know Dan. So let's
American
keep going.
life. You said, look, it was wrong, but let's just forgive each other. I know you've done much better things for this country. 5 tours you did overseas. But thank you for your service in calling out victim culture.
Well, no, I appreciate that, Bill.
Big time. I hate that victim culture. I hate that easily offended culture. Come on, can we get over that? Can we start just not being so offended by everything and not wanting to ruin everyone's life who's minorly offended us? Because people love going out there, making a big fuss, getting people fired, making everyone national news, and then their lives are ruined, and then we never hear about them again, and people move on, and you don't really care, do you? You just want to mess somebody's life up. Why don't we leave that alone?
And first of all, thanks for
Back
having
to the
me.
video.
I know we had planned to do this in the studio in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, life took a different turn. You know, the phrase I used after Pete Davidson said that, which I think you would love this phrase, is try hard not to be offended, or try hard not to offend, but try even harder not to offend or be offended. Geez, I'm really screwing this up. Try hard not to offend, try even harder not to be offended. And I think that'd be a way to live for all of us.
No, and we both share this disdain for victim culture.
Try hard not to offend. Try even harder not to be offended.
I have some credibility with you because, you know, I did a show called Politically Incorrect, which started in 1993 when I think you were about 10. And I was onto this shit a long time ago, and it hasn't gotten any better.
I think you do have some credibility for sure in conservative circles. I don't know how often you test or do focus groups amongst conservatives, but we generally think of you as a real liberal, and you know, and that means something. And there's a difference between liberalism and leftism, and we can disagree wholeheartedly.
A real liberal versus an extremist, or somebody who's just saying extreme things for popularity. I think that's what he means.
But open-mindedness and the ability to debate should be a key tenet of liberalism, and at least in the classical sense. And
you know what? You can disagree, but at the end of the day, we should all be wanting to see our country move forward in a positive way.
You say in your book, I'm going to quote you call out automatic assignment of blame outward. That's what we were just talking about. Help me understand how someone who calls out the outward assignment of blame can be such a supporter of a president who does nothing but pass the buck, lie, finger point, shirk responsibility. Tell me how you can support someone with your background, someone like that.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. Bill Maher just said, how can you support somebody who lies, points the finger, all this stuff, whatever he said. The reason that that's a bad argument is because for that to be a good argument, you have to assume that everything that he just said is true. he's kind of putting the words in your mouth. So now anything that Dan Crenshaw says to disagree, it's going to be like, now is Bill Maher lying or misleading the truth? It's just not a good way to argue. You can't lead off an argument like that. So pretty weak start. Let's see where Dan goes with this. It should be interesting.
It didn't take long for Trump to come up. I would say I support the country, right? And the president's success is certainly tied to the success of the country. I support his policy agenda. When I disagree with his policy agenda, I openly disagree with it. This isn't.
That's what I'm saying. Support the country. Even if you don't like the president and don't agree with him, you should still support the country. I've supported the country through every president. There's a lot more to a country than a president. So if you're hoping for the president to fail, you're hoping for the country to fail. Whoever the president is, whatever your political beliefs are. You should want the president to succeed because you should want the country to succeed.
But, let me tell you a quick story. When I was blown up, sitting in my hospital bed, President Obama was doing the rounds at Walter Reed, just like President Trump does now, and just like President Bush did before him. It's a really neat thing. It's a really interesting connection that the president gets with these wounded active duty soldiers that is never publicized. And even though I may have disagreed,
I don't know much about
levels
presidents going to Walter Reed. I know
Obama,
that they do it, but I don't know much about what that entails, how often they go, who they visit.
And to shake that man's hand
not sure about
and
that.
have him sign the American flag on my wall. And, even though we disagree on political things, and I think I would like us to get to that point with this president as well.
I would be excited to meet any president. Doesn't matter who it is. I don't have extreme political views any which way, but I would be excited to meet any president. I've never met a president. If you've met a president, drop it down below who you met and how it was.
We have to go through what he actually has done. This is important stuff. It's about life and death, and it's about our economy and everything that's really important. It's not tweets and it's not style. Let's just go through the timeline.
So Bill Maher, again, bad argument, because what he's saying is that everything that he says has to be taken as truth. This is what the president has done. These are facts. I am telling the truth. Well, you can't really lead like that, because what if you're not giving all the information, if you're saying something misleading or you're bending the argument or on purpose leaving something out, well, then you're not really being honest, are you? So you can't ever lead off any argument with anything. You can't lead off with like, well, I'm telling the truth, so anything other than what I say must be a lie. All right, let's see where this goes.
Okay, because he was warned. This did not have to happen. Alex Azar, his Health and Human Services guy, January 18th, he warned him about this. And again on January 30th, Trump said he was being
saying the president was warned on the 18th, on the 30th.
Somebody else who talks to Trump a lot told him directly, January 29th, you got to get ahead of this. February 10th.
He's got dates, he's got names of what people said.
A travel ban from China, which he was widely criticized for. That same day on January 31st, Nancy Pelosi proposed the No Ban Act, which would be congressional limitation on what President Trump's actually able to do with that travel restriction.
Okay, but he lies about that. How does
he lie about it?
So there you go. He just says he lies about that, bounces on to the next topic, but that's not really, you're not really saying anything, because you're just saying he lies about that, but you're not backing it up with anything. So meaningless argument.
What do you mean?
He said he stopped people coming in from China. He did not. He said he was ahead of it. 43 countries did it before we did. There are still people coming in from China. He only stopped foreign nationals.
Yeah, okay, let me address that, because I know that's what people are saying right now. But the reality is, it was about 40,000 people came in after that. These were U.S. citizens and green card holders and passport holders being repatriated. U.S. citizens. So you have to make the argument then that we shouldn't allow them in. I mean, it sounds to me like you're fully agreeing with President Trump on this when everybody else disagrees.
That matters. That context matters. I feel like you should include that if you're going to make a point or make a claim.
Okay, fine. I mean, you apparently had the foresight back then, but when nobody else did. But the fact
Bill Maher looks like he's begging for someone to come rescue him.
In charge at
Throw in the towel. Throw it in.
Have done it. He criticized it at the time. Nancy Pelosi actually proposed legislation to stop.
So something that I like about Dan Crenshaw is he doesn't buy into the bait, right? He'll answer the question and back it up with actual facts and add additional information that makes whatever the person challenging him, whatever they originally said seem pretty irrelevant and wrong. And that's 100% what's happening here. I'd be willing to bet Bill Maher is going to want to get out of this one as quickly as possible because he's losing this round. If you're going to say that the country blocked or allowed too many people in when they should have blocked people, and I remember when this happened, and people said that the blocking people of coming in the country was racist and part of a racist agenda to block immigration. But then you say that they should have been stricter with that earlier. That's very that's in direct contradiction to yourself, and I hate that.
But people are still coming in from China. It wasn't just foreign nationals, but let's get off that. Let me just go back to the timeline for a minute.
Let's get off that subject. I'm losing that, so let's get off that subject.
He says it's going to go away in April with the heat because he had a hunch. February 25th, he goes to India. This is 4 days after the White House Coronavirus Task Force said we're going to have to lock down the country, and Dr. Nancy Messonnier, who's in charge of the Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. Wait a second, let me just finish. She announced this on the 26th, on the 25th, that we're going to have to lock down the country. He said the next day, 15 people have it, and it's soon going to be close to zero. March 6th, he said anyone who wants a test can get it, which is still completely, completely wrong.
As you go forward, because you mentioned February 25th. The day before, February 24th, that's when the administration requested $2.5 billion from Congress to fulfill, CDC, NIH, and FDA funding to combat the virus and the potential spread of it. What happened right then? I'll tell you because I was in Congress.
And I remember hearing about this too. I love how people think everything starts and ends with the president when Congress has to vote on things to pass bills and get budgets. And no one cares what happens in Congress. Either Republicans block Democrats or Democrats block Republicans. Whatever happens, they blame it back on the president. But a lot of times there's nothing the president can do.
Your criticism appears to be based in one thing, that Trump was overly optimistic. That's his style. Again, you can criticize it. That's fine. But it's not connected to the actions that were actually taken. Because if I back up even further, February 14th, CDC announces ongoing work with 5 laboratories to perform community-based influenza surveillance and study the spread of the virus. We're in a fact-finding mode in February. People forget.
Dan looks like he has some info off to the side that he's referencing.
The world,
it's really not. There's just.
I wonder if people have teams that help them with these debates. We're pulling up dates and names and facts, and numbers.
But the reality is, our government was working to create that test. Now, did they work as fast as we would have liked? And of course not. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which I'm happy to go into. By March 3rd, there was only 102 cases in the United States, and yet I'm hearing criticism that we should have been locked down weeks earlier. But would you think the American people would have accepted that with only 100 cases in the United States? Italy didn't lock down until March 10th. Spain, not until March 14th. UK, not until later in March. Places like Sweden never locked down.
I wouldn't have been in any rush to lock down and panic either, because that's just not the way any good leader should be. Leaders should not panic. Leaders should maintain order and calm and law and discipline.
Well, it is. And also, it's not just about being optimistic. It's about being right. The world was aware of this. And since when does America take its lead from Italy and Spain?
Well, because those were where the outbreaks were happening.
I understand.
Right? Well, I'm pointing it out again for
that's context. A fallacy to say.
If we're going to criticize somebody's actions, we have to do it in the context of the facts they knew at the time. And so I'm just trying to be fair here. That I don't really care about defending him or his actions. I just care about letting people know the truth. And when people make these accusations, I have to ask them a question: is the goal to make
I believe
that,
that
or is the
Dan
goal to get to the truth? Because there's two different sets of answers for that.
What he thinks is honest about whoever he's talking about, but he won't just buy into propaganda.
I have a hunch. They converge. I have a hunch this is going to go away. Is that someone you would want to have served with? I mean, my God, I don't understand why someone with your
that's
resume,
a horrible thing to say. As if,
for God's sakes, would you want
as if somebody in the military
a commander to say that to you,
publicly talk down to a commander in chief?
If something
that's
goes
just not going to happen.
And then to say, I have a hunch the enemy's not going to be in there. Let's attack.
Sure, no, I understand that. So here's how I would describe my answer to that. When bullets are flying past my head, I don't need to raise my voice. And I write about this in my book too. Calm breeds calm, panic breeds panic.
Boom.
being an optimistic,
Calm breeds calm. Panic breeds panic.
exuding positivity and
If
calmness.
the leader
in crisis is
panics,
exactly
everyone's
how
going to
we ask
panic.
our
If the
SEALs
leader's
to
calm,
lead.
everyone has a chance of staying calm, or things have a chance
I'm
of
not sure
going
I see a
better.
lot of evidence for
Plus, you'll think
blaming
clearly
others,
and make
maybe
better
blaming
decisions.
China,
I don't
there's a
see
lot of evidence for that.
how it
So
would have been
maybe that's a good
beneficial
place
for
to
our
place
government
blame.
to panic
But I
and
did it
freak
last
out
week.
over when this all started and
Democrats
expect
here,
and tell everyone how
he's
it's
exposing
going to be the end of the
hypocrisy,
world.
and maybe we're confusing that with blame. But no, I mean, again, calm breeds calm, and that's how we would lead in the SEAL teams.
Okay. So in Texas, there was a 6-hour line to vote a couple of weeks ago. It does look like the Republican Party doesn't want people to vote, especially mail-in vote. And there's going to be people now who are afraid to go to the polls because of this disease.
Yeah. So let me explain.
I do feel like that's leaving a lot out of the story.
Oh, sorry.
Do you think Republicans
It's also
are trying to stop people
directly
from voting?
hypocritical
Do you
thing to
really
say
wouldn't you
about
rather
how people
lose
should
an
be
election
more
than
freaked out
live in
about
a
things than
country
they
where
are?
we're not really getting our franchise?
So the lines in Houston here.
Again, that's a
those
bad
big 6-hour
question to
waits
ask.
You saw, Republicans aren't in charge of those
Because you can't answer either way.
The Democrats are in charge of our county elections here. They run that. The county clerk is a Democrat. Recently won. That's why they're in charge. They've taken full responsibility for those lines, because basically what happened is a lot of machines went down, and that's what caused the lines. There isn't. So first of all, it's not Republicans, it's Democrats in these urban areas that actually run the election system. And second, there was no ill
Feels
intent.
relevant to bring
I
up.
don't think ill intent from Democrats either. There was mistakes made. In Texas, you have 2 weeks to early vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 2 weeks straight. You can go anywhere in the county and cast your vote. You don't have to vote on election day. If you're elderly or sick
Also
and disabled,
feels relevant
you
to
can
bring
vote
up.
in by mail. No, it's not the case that we don't want people to vote. And of course, that's always the accusation, but it's not really based in evidence. Mail-in ballots do have that. There's a break of custody of a vote there. There's if it's not fraudulent, there's at least the possibility for mistakes to be made, and we see that often. I read an op-ed recently from a former Texas member who was going door to door based on voter registration, just knocking on doors, and would find a group of non-U.S. citizens, but they're registered there, or a empty lot, but it's registered. So if you start mailing all of these types of places ballots, well then it's not ill intent, but there's the
I don't have enough
possibility
information
for a
on
lot of
all of
bad
that
things
to comment,
happen. And
but
so the question we have to ask ourselves: do we really
it
want
all
to,
seems like it needs to be taken
especially
into
from a
consideration
national
before you
level,
just
try to
say,
revamp our
would you
entire
rather
election system
live in a country
and
where
with the potential
the
for all
voting
these
system is
problems?
rigged, or have a
And
Democratic
for
president?
what?
Meaning
Exactly.
the only way a
So I don't know if
Republican
your
could be
question
president is if
related
it's
to
rigged.
COVID-19
Well,
or
there's-
just elections in general. But
Well, everything's related to that these days. And there, of course, is a lot to be said about your answer, which is a terrific answer from a press spokesman for that cause. But I don't have time to do it now. I hope you can come to our
So
show as we
laugh it
planned
off,
sometime. And
don't
we will
answer
take
it,
up this
act like you're
issue of
better,
whether
or you have some
Republicans
kind of
really
better
are
idea,
protecting
and
your
then
franchise
get
or
off the
not.
air.
But
Also
I
not
appreciate
saying
you doing
anything.
this. I appreciate everything you've done for this country. And I hope I see you in person soon. Thank you.
hey, thanks, Bill. Great to be with you.
All right. I totally get why I was told I needed to watch this, because Dan just smoked that interview, in my opinion. It just goes to show what I think everybody already knows, which is when you leave a bunch of relevant information out of an argument and you present one side of it and leave things out strategically, it doesn't really make your argument an effective one. As soon as somebody comes along and exposes that other information, it really makes you look like you have no ground to stand on. And that's what I think happened there. And I like where Dan's going in politics, and I hope to see him continue to rise in the ranks. And we'll see where he goes with that as time goes on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. I'll be active in the comments, responding to you. If you drop something, let me know if you like the show. Make sure you get over to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to the Scuttlebutt Show, where new content's coming multiple times a week, and we have a lot of big episodes coming up. And until next time, I will talk to you guys soon.